Publicus, the only registered lobbying and campaigns management firm in the Philippines, conducted recently the second political mindscape psychographics of Filipino voters early this year. A national survey of the country's voters, their preferences, their basis for voting a particular candidate, and the role of media in guiding our voters to making the right choice. Joining us tonight here on NewsLife is Ms. Malou Tiquia, President of Publicus Asia. Good evening, ma'am, and welcome to NewsLife.
Good evening, Kathy.
Ma'am, what are your objectives in conducting this second survey and key findings?
Well, the objectives really is to redefine the framing of the debate. That essentially, we just don't do surveys for horse races, for preferences, because you do not bring into the picture the voters. Juan de la Cruz is set aside simply because everyone wants to know who could be the leader of the pack. We did this also to present the other side of understanding voting behavior. There's demographics, which refers to your social economic status, your gender, your education, your age level, your situs, geography, and psychographics. These are interests, opinions, attitudes, belief systems of voters. And it is very important to understand psychographics because you need psychographics to segmentize the population, to target that segment, and to position a message. If we just rely on demographics, it's just that we're going to shoot everyone with the same ad. With the same messaging, and you don't have a target audience. These days, there are different issues for the youth, different issues for senior citizens, different issues for professionals. To lump everyone on, ad may not hold water in 2016.
Ma'am, can you tell us more about the Love and Care Index?
The Love and Care Index. We had studied before that there is a difference between being endearing and being inspiring.
Okay.
When you measure paano nagmamalasakit ang isang kandidato sa akin, hindi yun dinidefine ng kandidato. It's defined by the voter. So, ang pagmamalasakit ko ba ay pagtulong sa'yo, personal, yung sinasabi nilang libing, binyag, those things. O pag may sakuna na andun ako, matatakbuhan mo ako, makakatulong ako. Yung love is yung pagiging, part of that is yung pagiging mababang loob. Na hindi porke ako elected, ako ang leader nyo, ako na ang may alam, ako na ang bida.
Okay.
So to a certain degree, people are looking at those types of leaders who reflect their wishes, who behave like them, who to a certain degree speak the language they speak and act accordingly.
And ma'am, Philippine politics is still largely based on popularity. At this point, whose opinion or endorsement do you think matters based on your survey?
Well, based on, again, the survey, we should clarify it's between the ages of 17 to 45 years old. Okay. And we wanted to study that age bracket because they represent 66% of the total registered voters. So, who has the most power in terms of endorsing a candidate? It's still the family at 46%.
Okay.
The president, if he chooses to endorse a presidential candidate or a vice presidential candidate, has 13%.
How about different sectors like the religious sector, the youth sector, etc.?
Actually, from the family, then there is a part on TV, TV ads, PR, or and then leaders in the community. Okay. So, if you try to disaggregate that, dun papasok yung leader ng simbahan, kung anong sekta.
And for the past years, ma'am, the country has been divided on several issues. On what specific political issues do you think should voters like us should watch for in terms of the stand of these candidates?
In 2009, during the first psychographics, it was still job. Okay. Today, it's job, but in a higher degree, around 38 to 46%. We're referring to economic issues. The third was education, and fourth was health. Health is a new issue in the 2015 election. to the 2009 psychographics.
One critical factor of the elections is about funding, and there's a current suggestion on raising the cap on spending. What do you think will be the impact of this? And if you have the money, how will you spend it to best reach out to your electorate?
Okay, the suggestion really pertains to the 90-day campaign period.
Okay.
COMELEC has, in the previous election, came up with a cap. So you can only spend this much because you're now required to submit your campaign expenses. If you go beyond the cap, may problema sa COMELEC. So by increasing the cost per voter to 50, you're actually making the cap more realistic, more feasible in terms of those involved in the campaign. But that is just for the 90-day. Yung pre-campaign is open to whatever cost you have. So it is very critical that in the open pre-campaign part, you need to test messages, do organizing work, buy your airtime, so that your 90-day campaign period is just muscle memory. You cannot do all those things during the 90-day period, because you will lose. You're limited also. Yeah, and lose important time. So, so the cap is limited to the 90 days. The 50 per person increases potential and makes it more realistic. The problem is, if you're a candidate without much money, the cap is really of no relevance. If you're a candidate without much money, you need to have a very scientific campaign that may not focus on frequency of ads, but more of reach.
Ma'am, at this point, should we be vigilant against campaign funds coming from entities which may later on endanger our sovereignty as a country?
Well, technically, there's a provision in our election code against foreign interference. So, but that having said that, there are instances in the past where foreign interference or contribution came in through foundations. Yes, we need to be conscious about that. Yes, they need to declare. Yes, COMELEC will have to intervene, because if they don't intervene, there'd be more fronts for possible sources of funds coming from foreign shores.
Ma'am, based on your survey, what is your advice to political candidates in terms of targeting their specific group of people to vote for them, and what should be their strategy? Okay. The reason why we also offered the psychographic and made it public to all is because we wanted to introduce what has been done in market research. In market research, there is segmentation, there is targeting, there is positioning. Candidates would have to know, what are your harvest areas? Where am I going to get my votes? Who are my command votes versus my market votes? Command votes have been with you throughout your career as a politician. Your market votes, you realize that during the campaign. So if you don't have a command vote, you have a problem there. If you do not know the harvest areas and you tell us it's going to be the whole of the Philippines, you cannot really do that and spend like so much money in 17 regions and provinces. You have to target. So when you target it, would I cover the top 10 provinces where everyone is going, or do I cover the marginalized 38, which is composed of rural provinces, but it's like 12 million. And you need 16 million to win. So the math is very important in putting together whatever campaign plans you have in mind. And ma'am, advice to the voters, for example, I don't have any choice among the selection there is. Should I just choose the quote-unquote lesser evil, or should I not vote at all? How important is one's vote at this point?
Well, in the survey, it that voting is part of citizenship, and in fact, there was a question: do you feel guilty if you didn't vote? And the answer there was yes, that we need to vote. These are really young minds, the millennials. So, if, for example, a part of citizenship is to understand and learn per candidate. If you have 5 candidates, you try to understand and learn, understand the literature and learn online or traditional. Who are they? There are 3 questions. Who is the candidate? Why is he running for that position? And why should I vote for him? If you found the answers to that, I suggest you again go back and try to understand and realize it's very important that you have a sense of ownership in any election. Ownership being, I cast my vote and I voted for this person. There are no perfect systems in the world. We have our quirks as a nation, but at the end of the day, we elect the kind of leader we have.
And on that note, thank you very much, Ms. Malou Tiquia, the President of Publicus Asia Incorporated.